Hey guys, it's Music Ninja Matt here, and today we're going to be talking about the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. So of course we have our pre-show, and I will always say this, forever will say this, for each and every wrestling show, the panel was absolute crap, just drivel. I'm really impressed with the women's division, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to their mic work, there's still a lot of awkward stumbles by people like Sasha and people like Dana whose body language is very stiff. There's little things like that they still need to work on. Great that Bayley finally arrives on Raw, and I love how the women's title match actually had a really big fight feel to it. That was awesome. With the Sheamus and Cesaro best of seven, I'm glad that they made it interesting by saying, the winner will get a title match. That's good. That's what you want. You want these matches to mean something. And I find it interesting with guys like Sheamus and Cesaro, who almost feel very out of place on Raw, simply because of the fact that SmackDown kind of stressed itself as the wrestling show, and I think Sheamus and Cesaro would do better over there. And I feel like they've both kind of said that they'd feel better over there. It's also weird watching Sheamus. In promos, he tends to keep in character, but on the panel, he tends to come across as more friendly. One thing as well, this show really made me want to watch the Cruiserweight Classic, because I'm seeing guys like Kendrick, who I've always loved Brian Kendrick, been a big fan of him and I've missed him. And just the more clips and highlights I see of the CWC, the more I'm like, this show looks awesome. Stuff on the panel, like Booker saying TJ Parker instead of Perkins, stuff like that annoys me. And King's got this weird heel thing going on where they're talking about, TJ's had this 16-year career, and King goes, yeah, but if it didn't happen in the WWE, it doesn't count, does it? And you're just like, oh shit, okay, so he's just taking a stab at various different things there. When in the media lounge as well, you get people like Sami Zayn who they get stuck talking about, people go, oh, what's your best WWE career moment? And I'm like, let them talk about Ring of Honor and stuff when they're in that media lounge. They focus so much on what's happening now in the WWE, and I'm like, some fans will have questions that aren't revolved around that. It was nice to see Alicia Fox in a storyline. Nia Jax went out there. It was pretty much a squash match, but Nia looks dominant, which I think is good. Like, keep this up. Triple H helping Owens win the title was weird, because it feels like, oh, now we're on to Plan C. It feels like the story is Seth failed, but was Steph in on it, and there seems to be divisions all over the place. But that was it for the pre-show. The opening video package was nothing too particularly special. I usually love the openings, but this one wasn't too great. Again, I've stressed this as well. It should be Raw presents. It should, Raw should be everywhere, really in your face, that this is Raw's pay-per-view, and it wasn't. It's KFC's pay-per-view, apparently. It was weird at one point as well that we had the commentary team was like stood up facing us talking, and I was like, that's odd. Also hate that the tag titles, now we've got the Raw tag titles and the SmackDown tag titles. I think they're just lame names. The New Day promo was extremely cheesy and almost cringeworthy, which made me quite sad, because some of their promos are really good, but they start talking like the Brad and Angelina breakup, and I'm like, oh, don't do that. I liked that the club are back to looking more like badasses, and they put on a good show. I'm gutted that they didn't win. I think they should just pull the trigger on the club. On top of that as well, the New Day didn't even win clean, which was more annoying. TJ Perkins was extremely cool and calm in his promo, which is great to see from somebody who's newer to the WWE. I'm glad Brian Kendrick dropped the V from Brian Kendrick, but he's still got some of that wackier style that he kind of developed as the Brian Kendrick. Also, I adore TJ's entrance. The video game entrance is just so cool. The music's great as well. I find it cool as well with TJ. He's, the Duke of Dab and all of that. And then he's got this, like, pendulum Boston Crab type move. Like, some of his submissions are really cool. There was a bit of a botch in there, though. They went for a neck breaker and TJ just kind of fell, which was like, oh dear, bit awkward. One thing I really like about Corey Graves on commentary is not only does he focus on the match, but when he is making jokes and stuff, it's not like Michael Cole where they're really forced and horrible. It's very natural, and it's what's going on at the time. We had the Hurricanrana out of the ring, which was really cool. Whoever won this match, the story would have continued and would have been interesting, so I don't mind the result. TJ retains, and the story kind of continues with Brian Kendrick headbutting TJ. We got a really cool Suplex City advertisement, which was absolutely glorious. They really, really need to stop these Hulu adverts during people's entrances. It just feels really unnatural and annoying. Also, it took me way too long to notice that obviously when the cruiserweights come out, the ropes are purple and they've got their own kind of look and theme, which I'm not too sure how I feel about. I really love watching Cesaro. I think it's such a shame he hasn't got further in the WWE yet. He's always so crisp when he goes out into the ring. He puts everything out there, and when he landed on his head after the dive, he just takes that like a champ, and it just looks so brutal. We got a lot of false finishes as well in this match, and it was great because both men just look absolutely dead on their feet, and it just turns into a striking match, which I always love moments like that. We didn't get a proper finish, but I love how both men just wanted to keep fighting, and for once, I think having a more false finish really worked here. We also got a SmackDown advert on a Raw show. Stuff like that, again, needs to stop happening. It takes me out of the whole SmackDown versus Raw kind of mindset. We had Sammy and Jericho in action. I always love seeing Sammy's DDT through the ropes. I thought this was a pretty solid match. I loved how the pace just kept increasing. Jericho is such an ultimate heel right now. It's absolutely brilliant. Jericho gets the win here, and I think a possible feud could come out of this. Kevin Owens, as per usual, smashes his backstage promo. Owens is just so good, whether it's scripted stuff or whether it's on-the-fly stuff, always perfect. The rivalry between Sasha and Charlotte has been awesome. It was a hard-fought match, definitely. We had some great, double impact moves in there. I did think the ending was a bit weak, and we've got Charlotte going over here and getting the win. It looked like in the US title match, I'm pretty sure we got some CM Punk chants, and I was like, oh, this is still a thing, cool. In the US title match, we had Lana was involved very heavily. We had a lot of false finishes. Roman won, and overall it wasn't the best match, to be honest. We also found out that the next Raw pay-per-view will be Hell in a Cell, so okay. We had Kevin versus Seth, and I love how Kevin's trash talk is always on point. I love when wrestlers remember their injuries or remember to target injuries. In this match, they were focusing on their knee, which was great. I think it's always important to remember stuff like that. I also loved the DX chop that Kevin Owens did. Seth doing the taunt back as well. It just added to it, made it more funny. Chris comes down, and he's like that ultimate heel supporter, cheerleader role at this point. We had the powerbomb into the pedigree counter. That was awesome, and, Seth desperately trying to wake up the ref. And then we have, a bit of a messy ending, as usual with most of the matches that are happening at the moment. And then Owens ends up retaining. Now, with this pay-per-view again, it's not too bad. I had fun watching it, but it didn't feel like a pay-per-view. It felt like a glorified episode of Raw. It really doesn't help that Raw is 3 hours and pay-per-views are 3 hours, It makes the pay-per-view feel like less of a big show. And we're just getting a lot of the same at the moment, which I'm not enjoying too much. For me personally, I just think the amount of pay-per-views that are coming up, it's making it a struggle to watch them all and to want to watch them all, because storylines don't really get much time to develop. It does. They're just feeling like glorified episodes. It feels like we're getting a lot of the same stuff, and they just feel kind of messy. We're getting a lot of false finishes and not enough big match feels, I mean, shows like the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, those are the two pay-per-views I will always watch without a doubt, because WrestleMania, the biggest pay-per-view of the year, the Royal Rumble match is my favourite match of the year. That kind of stuff's absolutely fine, but even SummerSlam's a bit meh at times, and I don't know how many more pay-per-views I really want to be watching, because it is becoming very overwhelming. There's just so much product by WWE at the moment. It's just too much, and the amount of hours per week that they put out there is absolutely insane. So me personally, I think since the brand split, I think they should have gone back to Raw has it one month, SmackDown has it one month, Raw has it the next month. We have, 4 or 5 big pay-per-views where they're joined. I just think having a pay-per-view each a month is ridiculous at this point, and I personally am not enjoying it too much. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Down below in the description, there is my Facebook, Twitter, there's competition news, there's some playlists and stuff in there for you to check out. And also, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to help us build the channel and allow us to get more content to you. So thanks for watching, guys. See you later.